I'm bouncing back. I mean, I feel a lot better than I was, but...
Just flu,
I ain't
just high
100.
fever.
I ain't had the vid, that's all I know. But the rest of it, I had it all.
Had everything.
Had it all.
Hold up, limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Get my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, get me up. On the mission, get me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Get my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, get me up. On the mission, get me up. Knowing me, I got the key.
Welcome to a new kind of pivot. I know normally we bring the guys on or we bring our guest on and we ask the questions, and the shows are about our guest journey, or if we do a three-man show, we just sort of bounce it around. But a lot of times we get these questions, well, what about Chan? What about Fred? What about RC? Recently, we did a show with All the Smoke in Austin, and we got an opportunity to meet Zuri Godfrey. He asked us a question. Google wanted to sponsor a show, and so we're gonna kind of switch it up where we're gonna answer the question. This is sort of a podcast playbook. We have been able to navigate this space in a way that is different from most people, but there are a certain group or a select group of podcasts that do very well in the space. And so in any way that we can offer up any help, we would like to do that and maybe tell you a little bit about ourselves and how this whole thing got started. And so right now, I'll turn it over to Zuri.
Thank you all for having me on the show. I lead creator advocacy and ads marketing at Google. And that's basically what we're here to talk about today. Amplifying you all's stories, making you all the stars of you all's own show in a way where we're gonna touch on what we call business enablers that support the success of the creator and podcast communities. And those business enablers are content discovery, content engagement, and then how do you monetize from the content, which is supported by ads. And so we're gonna ask questions as it relates to those three topics. Wanna hear you all's answers and any secret sauce that you all may be willing to share with the audience. So I wanna start it off with some softball, some quick questions. We got the Super Bowl coming up, right? So what would you say is you all's favorite Super Bowl ad?
Mine go way back. I was in love with Cindy Crawford, man. She was in this Lamborghini, and we used to sit on the Ave, and when cars drove down the street, we like, that's my car, that's my, so I was dreaming, I was a dreamer. We never saw Lambos in Belgrade, but I knew about them. So this commercial, I think it was probably like in the early 90s. I was in high school, and she was beautiful, bro. So she just hopped out, walked to the Pepsi machine, got a Pepsi, and pop, and that's my favorite.
See, I ain't looking off in the distance. It's crazy you asked that, and I just started thinking. The first thing popped in my mind, so it had to be my favorite, was them damn frogs saying Budweiser.
Oh, yeah.
And that shit was genius.
Genius.
It was
That's some
cheap
great
to
marketing.
make. That was genius marketing. Budweiser, then they had them big-ass horses playing football, I believe.
That was good.
Yeah.
That one was
Yeah,
good.
the horse with the dog, that was dope.
Yeah, man, you throw an animal on some shit, I'm gonna watch it and remember it, I swear. So probably number one would be that damn Budweiser, yeah.
All of you are wrong.
Uh-oh.
We can't be wrong, it's opinion.
All of you are wrong. It's Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Larry hooping, Mike walk in with the McDonald's, and Larry wanted to play Mike for the McDonald's. And that's when they played the horse game where they was going like all around. They was outside, they would bounce over like the stadium, and like, so that to me, cause I was such a big Michael Jordan fan, I thought that was my favorite of all time.
The first time, even y'all talking about y'all favorite ads, the first time y'all heard about how much those 30-second ads cost. Did that blow your mind?
Yeah, I ain't got it.
They be like 800,000 for 30 seconds. Now I think they like a couple million. Marketing.
Yeah. All right.
Advertisement.
We talked about the favorite Super Bowl ad from a performance perspective. Who had the best performance as a player in the Super Bowl?
Oh, I'm biased though, because them damn offensive players get all the love. Richard Dent.
Okay.
Ray Lewis had one.
Ray Lewis had a great
Who was
one.
the recent? Von Miller, 50. He was the most recent. Yeah, man, I hate even the MVP race right now. They don't even bring up defensive players that ball.
You're right.
Aaron Donald was getting screwed for years. So I'm going with Dent and Ray and the safety from Tampa, I forget his name. I actually know
Dexter
him. So
Jackson.
we can't be that good of friends. I forgot Dexter's name. and Von Miller, man. I love when the defensive player gets.
But he said favorite. You got 5.
I go Richard Dent. God rest his soul. He passed. 4 years old. He passed.
Huh?
He passed.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Chan.
We gotta fact check that one.
He did.
Oh my goodness. No, you're not.
I would say I would have to go Doug Williams, Washington. I'm from Louisiana. I went to Doug's camps growing up. My uncles and my pops knew him. And so that one resonated in my house. You know, black quarterback, wins the Super Bowl, first one ever.
And he was from an HBCU too, right?
Yeah, Doug's from Grambling.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That for me was just one of those moments where you start to believe things are possible for you. You start to believe that things are possible for people that look like us. And with Doug being from Louisiana, people that come from places we come from.
I'm gonna stay on the bias train. I'm gonna go with a running back.
Okay.
TD, Terrell Davis, man. Was battling migraines. I think he had $150, 3 touchdowns, you know, in spite of, and end up winning Super Bowl MVP. And Denver wouldn't have won it if he didn't, you know, push through and had the type of performance he had. So TD is my favorite.
All right, cool. And with that, I want to transition the conversation to break down you all's tenured stories and careers. And so where you all are from, I'm assuming is near and dear to you all's heart. So we're here in Florida for Art Basel, and that's Florida. So we know you born and raised in Florida and got the chance to play for the Jags. You know, how does that inform who you are today, who you were as a player, and who you are now as a podcaster?
Born and raised in Florida, as you said, Mug City, Belglade on the lake, down here not too far away. Transitioned from there to University of Florida for college, and then from there I went an hour away to Jacksonville, drafted. So I've been in Florida my whole life. I only lived outside the state once. That's when I played for the Patriots for 2 years. The foundation of who I was as a player was based on me, you know, growing up here in Florida, the state with the best football on the planet.
We gotta.
So, I mean, that's just how it goes, you know. And I was a hell of a football player because of it. And I'm a hell of a podcaster because of these guys. Nah, because I'm from Florida.
Because you're from Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got to touch on that a little bit. And it's probably been mentioned in previous shows. But you said Florida, they breed the best talent?
Best football.
Best football.
Without a doubt.
Best football talent.
Without a doubt.
Okay. I mean, there's
some data out there somewhere.
But thinking about the size, this personal anecdote here, me being from Virginia, right? Got Michael Vick, Plaxico Burress, Allen Iverson. And our size is what I'm getting at. The size of Virginia compared to the size of Florida.
See, but there are a lot of different ways to break it down. So you could talk about per capita, or you could just talk about the most, right? I mean, I like the versatility in your athletes out of VA. You know, y'all got great basketball players, great football players, and that's fine. But I think Florida, like I said, football specifically, I think we got the best athletes ever.
Okay. All right, cool. RC, you know, you're from Louisiana. And yeah, touch on what part of Louisiana you're from and how that has...
From the West Bank of New Orleans.
How has that informed you as a person?
I think all of your experience inform and form you as humans. That's our lives. You know, I think my perspective comes from the perspective of a young black man that grew up there.
Yeah.
And that's never gonna change. Your new experiences in different places continue to help you evolve, but your foundation is your foundation. I grew up Southern Baptist. That's never gonna change. You know, my mom taught me to love the Lord a certain way. And as you continue to grow, even though your decision-making may not always reflect that, like, that's my foundation. Like, that's where I go back to look for my center. That's where I go back to find my way. And I think it's the same thing when you talk about places that you're from. When the rubber hits the wall, like, that's who I am.
Going to play in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, just living, compare and contrast in Louisiana to Pennsylvania, how was the experiences?
Oh, it was fine. I mean, I play football. My Pennsylvania experience is not the same Pennsylvania experience as another black man who doesn't play football. Like I'm in no way.
All of us.
Yeah, I'm in no way confused by that. That my experience everywhere is better because of who I am. You have to look at things through that prism. That, you know, I can have, you know, my wife call somewhere and they say, well, we don't have a spot. And then they ask the name and now they suddenly have a spot. And it's not to say that people are inherently bad, because that is what my life is comparatively so. But I do think you have to look at how you view a place based on that. And I was treated a certain way because people really love football in Pittsburgh. And I played a brand of football that at that time made me endearing to people who really just love the game. And so because of that, I was treated extremely well. I still have a lot of relationships there and people I'm close to because of my time there. And so as a family that was part of the Pittsburgh Steelers family and the way that the Rooney family ran their business in such a family way, I think very fondly of my time there outside of the winters.
Gotcha. And then Chan, you were technically born in Pennsylvania, but raised in Georgia.
Atlanta. Well, a lot of people don't know the real story. I'll run through the front side first. Born at State College. My dad was coaching for Penn State. And then he quit. They played in the Hula Bowl or something, and he quit, and that's when we moved to Tampa. With my mom, my dad, 2 sisters. Then Tampa was cool. I was young, little weird-ass kid. And then my mom and dad got divorced, and I would say, like, my personality, but the fun, and we always talk about it. Everybody walks up to me and start smiling because they expect me to make them laugh because I'm always bullshitting and playing around. Started in Atlanta. In Decatur, Atlanta, you got to be a tough kid. You know what I'm saying? Tough skin. When that's when, like, you ever heard of with your glass? That was what Atlanta was. Every time you walk out there, you about to get made fun of. So you better have some jokes back or you better just leave and run away. So my personality got built there. And football, Ryan hit on it really. Football, after football, you started getting good at football, the whole life was in front of you. Because then you were all state, all American in college, you just start. So that keeps building. But go to Florida, get drafted, get a scholarship to Florida, go through Florida, get arrested a bunch of times for just bullshitting and fighting that I've learned in Atlanta. Then I had to get out of there, went to the Miami Dolphins, played for them for 6 years. Still, when I was playing, still bullshitting, laughing with the media, got a radio show there. So really, my personality has carried me way further than football has. Football gave me a lot more opportunities, but my personality and really to be able to light up a room. Like the secret sauce of me is I can walk in any room. I joke all the time.
That makes sense. Mr. TikToker, that makes sense. All right, and the last Super Bowl question before we really hop into it. Halftime show. What's I'll say favorite, not best, because as mentioned, opinion-based. What was the favorite halftime show for you all?
The one that the Lord took over.
Uh-oh.
And Prince started singing Purple Rain.
Not even close.
There you go.
And that, come on now. But that was a spiritual experience. That wasn't a Super Bowl halftime show. That was church right there with
He took him to
Prince.
church.
Then I went to his house up there in Minnesota, started crying again. Bachelor pad. His bedroom's underneath the ground because he didn't like lights and stuff, man. He had a whole club in his house. Yeah, that Super Bowl right there, that halftime show was a spiritual experience.
100% agree.
Yeah, unanimous.
Wanted to take it a step back if you all could think about why you all started the Pivot. Or is there any hesitation, any reservations going into you all getting started?
It's just a couple quick conversations, actually. That's the reason why we have the Pivot. We had to make a move. We come from a background where we were at another podcast.
Right.
We just had an opportunity to do something on our own and do it the right way. So we all just got together. Chan, RC got on the phone. After Chan and I spoke with Alicia, RC came into the fold. He was like, for sure, with no hesitation. And we all just had conversation. We met for breakfast. It was simple for us. Mm-hmm. We said, all right, we're gonna align the business first.
Yeah.
So it's fully transparent. Dot the I's, cross the T's, and we was locked in ever since. It was simple.
Love that. And you talked about the Pivot And what that means to me is always being agile. So I love that you said that you all were at another podcast, but quickly realized that that wasn't in alignment with you all, and it made the pivot to start you all's own podcast, The Pivot. And so with that in mind, any major pivots that you all have had to make to the podcast itself?
You know what? I think we locked in at a certain point. I know we knew what we could do. We saw the platform, and even the conversation that Freddie's talking about. We saw what it can be, and we saw successful podcasts, and we knew that the personalities that we have are very diverse. You know, not arguing, debating, whatever you want to call it. Like we ain't know, and I use the same term every time, but we call it like I like to see lions sit down. They could be women lions, but it's just people that have their own domain, and they can sit in another lion's domain and speak. And it's not that we don't have to agree, we just have to converse. So we knew that the personalities could be there. And so then we got that together, have the most amazing producer in the world, and that's where it started too. I add that in, Freddie. Without AZ, Alicia Zubikowski, me and Fred would be calling Ryan and sitting there on the phone excited about nothing. So we just have our team that was there, and then Alicia brings in great cameramen, great audio guys, great producers, great editors, great all the people that can do that. But I would say at a certain point, we were enjoying it, but then we kind of saw and narrowed in on what we really have.
Okay.
Kinda tunnel vision. Yeah. And then we all kind of saw it as a group and was like, you know what? Let's even take this thing that blew up fast, let's just keep growing and go to a next level. And that was a group decision, and it was fun, and it's still fun. We have a great time no matter where we go. But I think at one point it went from like, hey, we all friends, we cool, we go to each other's birthday parties, we go out to eat all the time. So at some point, let's blow this thing up to international fame, and that's what happened.
And that's exactly what happened, because you all are well on your way to that 1 million subscriber mark on YouTube, which is huge. So kudos to you all on that.
Let me add to Channing really quick. I just had something on my mind I think is important, especially for if you have a group of people like us who are deciding to get into the space. You know, we like to, it originated from just simple locker room talk. You know, and the origin of team, like a team concept. And I think for us, one of our big pivots, considering Channing does radio, RC does everything, you know, and I do some radio stuff back in Jacksonville. Availability, you know, moving with a sense of urgency, and just making sacrifices, you know, for this and for each other. We really have to navigate our own personal lives and our time and everything else that we got in place to really just make this, and we take it serious. You know, and that's what it's been from there. Although we have fun and people see fun moments, Chan go viral every week, you know, we still, behind it, we really do kind of plan things out. And that's the most planning we do. It's not scripted. You know, it's like this, we sit around, we know we have our bullet points and our thoughts, but there's no scripts. When we have guests on or whenever we do three-man shows. So we take it serious, and if anybody's gonna get into space, they gotta have that approach. And consistency gotta be the key. You know, once you get out there and you designate to your audience, this is what we're gonna do, whether it's 1 show, 2 shows, or 3 shows per week or whatever, you gotta maintain that. And that's why we've been able to pivot and make it what it is.
Yeah, I sense those themes of sacrifice, of having a team, and then, as you said, being consistent. And it's a no-brainer that this space that you all are in right now, podcasting, is so saturated with everyone wanting to start a podcast. But what do you feel set you all apart, and what would you all credit to the success?
You heard it.
Stand on it. Stand on business.
Just got on them Yeezy boots. What you standing there?
No, and it's not even I'm very honest with everybody. We weren't always good at it. You know, Channing mentioned Alicia. I didn't understand this space, and when I came into the space, I had an idea of what I wanted our podcast to be, and you know, we had to go through the growing pains of messing up shows, or of not being great, or of not being focused, and because of her, the blessing was when we were awful, she was able to make us not look that way, right? And so the final product was something that, at least in that space, that was still good enough for people to hold on to. And Channing mentioned us kind of getting the tunnel vision. I think more than anything, it was realizing it was a job. So many times I think people want to get into business for themselves because you don't want to work for someone else. But what normally happens, because you're working for someone else, there's a template put in place that you have to follow. We make all the rules, right? We make the joke that Channing is HR, but I do think that's sort of a microcosm for the bigger picture, which is like, we are the rule makers. We are the people who have to follow through and also assess if that follow through is breeding success. And so I think that becomes hard, right? It's like, if you're not gonna be hard on yourself when it comes to the business model or when it comes to the way that we approach every show, then you can let yourself get a little complacent. And so for us, it was realizing we were in this space and then having to prioritize. And I've said this on calls with them, especially in the beginning, man, we used to have like real life arguments and trying to figure out a direction for a lot of things, and not like fussing and cussing at each other, but just disagreements that we saw things differently and trying to figure it out. And I used to always tell them, like, if you tell me your priority for the show, I can pretty much predict your decisions. Right? Like if our priority is making money, then our decisions will look like that. The show will look like that. If our priority is making great content, then our decisions will lean that way and the show will lean that way. And so I think it was just figuring that out and understanding it was a job. And once we did that, we got a lot better at the show. And then we also all sort of found our voices. And I think the other thing that has allowed us to have success is, at least in this space, the 4 people that are always together, the 3 of us and our producer, Alicia, is like, it's no egos. Like I don't think any of us ever feel like we have to have the shine. And we're each other's biggest cheerleaders. You know what I'm saying? Like when Fred kills the show, like I take no greater pride than being like, hey, bro, you was on it today, dog. You know what I mean? When Chan has a great show, we take no greater pride in being like, Chan, like all those moments, bro, like that was perfect for you. When we F it up and then we see the clips, and I was like, dang, that show was way better than I thought. Alicia never has an off day, but for the most part, the 3 of us never have an off day at the same time.
That's important.
Like you have to have a good enough team that if Fred's not on, or if I'm not on, or if Chan's not on, one of us recognizes it, feels it, and goes to work. And I think that, that's helped us. The biggest thing I think that has helped us is we've accepted the responsibility of who people think we are, even if we aren't.
Wow, that's major. Yeah, and I love that 2 pieces that you touched on, which is no egos, right? And everyone has their own strong suits and catering to those and building off of catering prioritization. So we touched a little bit on the creator podcasting side. Quick question from a brand perspective. What do you all recommend that brands do who are looking to use and leverage YouTube effectively?
Like it is difficult. And in the conversations we have, we realize how intricate it is in making sure you monetize in the right way or you use money in the right way to push ads to give you visibility, right? I think that's important. The marketing and promotion of your brand in using social media as well. It's the best and the freest marketing that we all have, but even that, from an algorithm standpoint, from an understanding what resonates standpoint, you have to be extremely specific in the way that you do that. And so I think for a brand that wants to do things that are received well on YouTube, you also have to stay up on what's current.
Right, the trends.
And I think that's the hardest part for me specifically, like not necessarily speaking on what's trendy or on what's trending, but being trendy is hard for me. Cause like I just wanna be me. And I'm almost like, if you don't like me, then that's life. And you know, there is some push and pull from a business standpoint that you have to do some of that stuff, you know? And I think, you know, Fred's a little bit, you know, older than me. I'm a little bit older than Chan. And so like we're all in these different places, but our era is the same era, right? And so it's like being able to do some of the things that for our age group, it's like, oh, I don't know about that. But understanding that those are the things that resonates with the YouTube era, which isn't necessarily ours, but it's starting to switch to be, you know? And as it switches, we don't want to be so trendy that our generation doesn't mess with us anymore, and we can't be popular amongst that demographic of people, but we also don't want to be so dang old and standoffish and, you know, don't have the ability to adjust where we can't resonate with the people that, you know, the Googles and the YouTubes truly target as well.
Being trendy and stuff, story comes out and we'll reach out to people and try to get in contact with them because, you know, somebody wants a deeper dive into this. You see a 15-second clip. These people want to hear more from this person. So we got into, I think it was Jen Kramer, then Caitlyn Jenner, and there was about 3 or 4 of them. And then after that, to RC's point, I started telling people we could interview anybody that speaks English. And they would be like, people kept asking, who was your next interview? What would be your dream interview? We could interview anybody that speaks English because we've both said it, we're so diverse. We have such a different approach to interviews.
Yep.
If I know your name or don't know your name, any 3 of us, we could do some research and talk to you for 2 hours. And I think that's also, you say secret sauce? I think that's also something that us 3 can do that we've all seen in rooms with each other, that we're walking a room, what was it, South by Southwest? You saw it. We'll all 3 be in different
Afro
corners,
Tech.
holding court, because that's what we can do. We can talk to people, communicate with people. If you're famous, if you're not, we can resonate to the 40-year-old black dudes, the sports fans, and now I'm the goddamn TikTok guy. These motherfuckers run to me at the airport and be like, little babies, little 14-year-olds, you're the TikTok guy. So we're resonating to
They run up to you like, go to car. Sweet brother Newsom.
Mommy, that's the TikTok guy. But think about that, like, and after, I ain't gonna lie, at first, when the first person said it, I was like, I play football. Like, I was like, TikTok guy. But to that thought about just the overall, the YouTube, those platforms, I have 13-year-old girl fans. We have 70-year-old curmudgeonous old black dudes sitting on the porch drinking scotch, fans. And that's what the platforms give you when you do it right.
100%. And yeah, I love what you both said, in particular, that trends piece. And as a brand, I think the sentiment there is you don't have to tack on to every trend. You know, tack on to the trends that make sense for the brand, right? And where the brand is, the tone of voice, and the audience, like you said, RC, that you're trying to reach or target.
This is also where Alicia comes in. You talk about high quality, niche content, right? We don't have to go outside of the framework of who we are, right? We look for certain angles, but we just have our own general conversations. And if it take off, it takes off. And I think the brands understand the cleanness and the high quality production that we have, and they want to be able to, wrap their brand around that, and just by the quality of the show itself, and how it gets out there. So that helps our engagement. And then, like he said, he's the TikTok guy. Social interactions, that pulls them in as well. And we also learn how to drive traffic and allow brands to be able to see it the way we promo across all social media platforms. RC, Mr. Twitter, he got it down pat. He's like a Twitter genius. Like, his tweets are elegant and they're funny and they're clean and they're just dope. And then when he adds our promos into that, like, boom, you don't always see it, or the general public doesn't see it, but brands see it. They see how the engagement is flowing and how the traffic is flowing, how many people interact with, what he sends out there, and we have our clips, and our clips are, again, Alicia comes into play, because sometimes people will hit you up in the comments and say, man, y'all know when to cut that clip off. You know what I'm saying? Like, boom, now you got them.
Right.
They're in there and they're interested. And I think, brands also have their scouts out there, that see that follow you, and they like, okay, we can rock with that. We like what they're doing.
From a production standpoint, that was big to us, that if we were gonna put ads in our show, it wouldn't be the normal just reads, because we're not on radio. Like, people had to actually sit and watch that. And so I think everything about our show, we try to make it as organic as possible, even if everybody knows it's not necessarily organic.
I've heard this on a number of calls with Alicia Zubikowski snapping on people. We're not gonna give up the integrity of the production. We're not gonna give up the integrity of our show. That was something that we decided, really, we're not gonna do that. Like, we'll be in the back, we'll talk about it naturally, we'll have that. And then I think that was, but back to it, like the having Alicia and her knowing, like I'm starting to get it now. They got it better than me to be able to see. Like, a lot of people do that in production when they're like, you have to see it in that TV screen. You got to see it in that computer screen. I couldn't do that at first, and now I'm starting to kind of figure out when I'm looking at Fred and RC, I'm not seeing all of this. I'm looking at them like that because that's what the people are gonna see. And that's what another life lesson, that's when you learn when you're around smart people and you damn listen and don't know all the goddamn answers and listen to people that know more stuff to you.
But that's on the monetization side from our sponsors and the brands. But when you talk about, the digital ads, the Google digital ads and the targeted advertising, it's just based on, the people that follow our show, the people that watch the show and their data. And you guys, or Google, does a great job of pushing out ads throughout the show. And I think based on when we go back and look at our media kit to kind of get our numbers, our engagement, we can see, how long they're watching the show. Not so much if they're skipping the ads, but when we look at our AdSense dollars, you can kind of tell if they are or not, or how long they're engaged. So.
Yeah, and it helps that the advertisements that the viewers are watching are relevant, and like you said, based off of basic data that is based off of them. And so, yeah, with that, taking it all the way back, like when you all first started the journey, how did you all really optimize as far as discovery goes? Like, how did you all make sure that you all casting that wide, you all are getting discovered across social platforms, including YouTube?
Just going back to what I said a moment ago, just taking advantage of, originally originating from our, social media, Instagram and the Twitters, chopping up those promos, being strategic in just how long the promos are, not overstated, not too short, but some way where we can, get the people interested in them. And then looking at everything and saying, all right, well, we gotta get involved with TikTok. How do we get younger? TikTok, right? Mr. TikTok right there.
Right.
Again, utilizing Twitter. RC has always had the most followers on Twitter. Channing, he's very active on Twitter. I gotta get in line and try to tweet and repost what I see, what they do. So my notifications are set when he's saying something, I'm following up to my people. Even if we share, followers or what have you, we don't care. I'm sending my stuff out. Chan has something go out. My notifications are set to every tweet he sends out. I'm reposting his. Same thing with Instagram. I tag everybody on every promo I use. Whether it's the stories or reels or feed posts, I'm tagging all of our people, the entire team, where they can send it out. So we just want to try and maximize all of our followers. So we have to always recycle everybody's page for the most part.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I'm gonna be honest, man. We still don't have this figured out. Like, to be truthful, like we are still learning the space is ever evolving. And when we started, one of our associates said that podcasting will be the new social media, that everyone will have a podcast. And it was sort of like, man, shut the hell up. Everybody ain't gonna be doing no podcast. And to me, it was because like I realized how much went into our podcast. And I was like, ain't no way in hell everybody wants to do this, you know? And then you realize, when you look at it, oh, they're not doing what we're doing, you know? But it has become the new social media. I think everybody feels like they have a voice. And I think a little bit less of those people feel like their voice should be heard. And like, let's be honest, like everybody wants to be, like most people want to be a star or want to be known or want some sort of recognition or whatever it is. And they feel like this is a possible way, right? And it's kind of the loophole. When you look at media now, in the sense that when I wanted to be a part of the media, like I interned at ESPN.
Wow, same.
You know, like I started, you know, I did a contract while I was still playing, which at the time people at Pittsburgh went crazy, right? You're gonna do TV and play football, like you're not focused on football. Whereas like now every good one has a podcast because that's the way things have shifted. And so for us, it's like, what do we learn or what do we figure out next that puts us ahead of the curve? Like we feel like we have a top tier level of content, but how do we start developing the branches around it to allow us to keep ascending? And I think that's the place that we're in. Yeah, we don't totally have, like we'll keep evolving as far as what we produce content-wise, but we need to evolve in other ways. And I think to me, that's the 2024 step. It's like, it's becoming bosses, right? Like we're like our own boss, for sure, you know, but when we go in rooms and we have conversations with different people, you start to realize, yeah, every podcast ain't ours. Every board member or every group of partners aren't our group of partners. And so the goal is Fred continues to individually grow, Chan continues to individually grow, I continue to individually grow. And honestly, man, if we telling the truth, bro, we actually just waste Alicia. Like, being honest, it's like she really just slumming it with us. You know what I mean? Because like she's done so many things in her life and accomplished so much that she just want to do stuff she feels like doing, you know? And she's like, well, I like hanging with these three, so I'll hang with them. We all want to do different things and in different ways. And it's going to be, how do we take the podcast and utilize the podcast to do those things? Because this is another opportunity for us to have businesses and run businesses and be innovative with our brands. And I think that's the next step.
Got it. Well, I'm looking forward to what the future holds for the Pivot for sure. Does you all's background as ex-NFL players help, and if so, how, into getting into this space and podcasting and optimizing you all's discovery, engagement? Because today, a lot of things are, as it was before, word of mouth, but also influencer marketing, collaborating with different influencers, different celebrities to optimize the growth and the marketing of the show.
It brings instant credibility, you know, in certain things we say. We all come from a background where we have fans. Like, fans naturally follow us based on what we do on the field. You know, and then you have a set of fans that, like, you know, if you're a character person, some people don't even watch football, but maybe they've seen you do, you know, interviews in other places, whether it's through philanthropy or whatever it might be, then people tend to follow you that way. So there are several ways to sort of create a following. And then when we enter the podcast space, like RC's on ESPN, right? He's a former player as well. So it's a lot of people that come from that particular side. Same with Channing. Channing, his radio show as a former Dolphin. So the region down here in Miami, people are gonna wanna peek in and see what he's doing over there. And the same for me, you know, in Jacksonville, And when we look at our engagement from region or demographics, Miami is big, percentage-wise, Pittsburgh, is big percentage-wise, New Orleans, Louisiana, whatever, here in Florida, Jacksonville, as a targeted area. Football or our sport certainly help, because it does give you that credibility. And then when you get on there and then when he goes viral, it's like, okay, more people kind of funnel in. And the same thing, or if I say something that resonates with someone, then more people start following in. And then when it floats around social media, more people start following in, you gain that traction. So, and the same with RC, how he articulated things, people are engaged by that. So coming from that space helps us build this space.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's that power pairing of looking in the insights and the
It goes
analytics.
back to influence.
Right.
We never, definitely Chan, he believes it now, but it was a point in time where you say the word influencer, he'd be like, man, I ain't no damn influencer. But he's always
Keep
been.
that out your mouth.
He's always
Yeah.
been. Naturally, he's always been. They had a conversation when they asked Barkley back in the day if he's a role model. If they probably would have asked him if he was an influencer, then
Right.
maybe he would say, well, yeah, naturally you do influence people, whether good or bad, you do. And then they just follow you from there.
100%, yeah, influence, and then also that piece that you touched on as far as credibility. If the content that you are producing or making, you have a subject matter expertise in it, you have some thought leadership in that space, then people are naturally going to be willing and receptive to what it is that you have to share.
But that's why RC say we're good. And I think that's why we're good. Like, we don't sacrifice that. We can do silly shit. You know what I'm saying? We can do that, but people can also call that out.
Right.
That ain't them. Like, how y'all trying to pivot and go that way when that ain't what y'all do? So if it's like natural, whether it's we lead with vulnerability, and that's natural, transparency is always at the forefront. So for us, everything we do, that's why we didn't always think we were as big as we were at those times, because we were just doing what we do. Like, and people would say, man, y'all got something, like, that's really, and then when we start hearing it more and more and more, do you want more and more and more? You want to do better. More so than for yourself, but for the people, because you realize you are giving back. And you're not giving back in a negative manner. You're giving back quality information, gems, and what this is today, free game.
Switching to monetization, when was it that point, that inflection point where you all realized that this could be an actively lucrative business for you all?
It's the reason it started. Yeah, like I don't think it was ever a time we didn't intend to make money.
Right, it's a business.
If we didn't intend to make money, we wouldn't have signed all those contracts. We wouldn't have had lawyers. We wouldn't have done all those things. We wouldn't have made sure the percentage splits were satisfactory to us all, that everybody felt comfortable and good about where we were. So from the very outset, the purpose of doing this was to make money. And then after you understand that purpose, after you set your business in place, you prioritize how that money is going to be made. Pretty early on, we realized we had a chance to do that. And I think, we've continued to make our content decisions based off of making the best content, and our brand decision based off of, what we're comfortable with as it goes forward and being able to monetize what we do.
And getting in the huddle a little bit, if you all don't mind being transparent. And what does you all's monetization model include?
So we obviously have our Google ads and the things that we have on YouTube. Then there's also the brand sponsorships. And some of those are the longer deals, right? We started out, we had a deal with Happy Dad. I think that was the first one we did. And then, now as you move forward, when the Prize Picks and the DraftKings and those sorts of people come along, you have longer term deals that you do with them. And now, when people start to get the ad dollars that they could spend in podcasting, you might do shorter deals. And initially, we would do kind of the one-offs, because they might offer a good bit of money for one episode. We've now moved past that to where we don't want to do those deals. Like,
We're proven.
yeah, so like if you want to do some sort of business with us, then do some sort of business with us. Like, you know, like we don't, and so that's what we've worked ourselves toward now. And so, you know, you have all of those things that you try to incorporate into building something bigger. And I think now we're moving to the next step of finding certain homes for whether it be video, audio, and then also a place to sort of be the bosses in many ways as well.
It's a lot of other ways too. We just haven't, not that we won't, but we do realize, like RC was mentioning, all money ain't good money. You know what I'm saying? So we do monetize through our Google, through our sponsorships, but things such as like affiliate marketing,
Yeah.
whether you have on our audio listener donations, you have even content subscriptions. You know, premium content subscriptions. Like those are other ways, and I'm speaking in general for people that are out there, you know, watching it. If they do want to consider trying to maximize monetization, those are other different streams that they can tap into. It's just for us, again, it goes back to the quality of the content, the quality of the production, making sure that doesn't change, keeping people engaged through that, and everything else, what we do, it just sorts itself out. You know, but our sponsors, they realize how good the show is, how clean it is, engagement statistics, our media kits, et cetera. So yeah, it's, that works for us.
It seems like the sentiment there is affiliate marketing, it is influencer marketing as well, but at the end of the day, having that integrity, staying true, and the money will follow.
Correct.
Got it. Cool. And you all did mention in that monetization model, it included ads. And so, what percentage would you all say of ads that you all is included in your revenue model?
20 to 25%, somewhere in that number.
About a quarter.
You know, it's different times of the year, it changes, but I think it averages out to about that.
Yeah, and ads get a bad rap. I mean, they get a bad rap. And so we're trying to shine light on how digital ads actually help podcasters, creators, and such. And so what would be the implications of digital ads no longer being able to be relevant to a customer or a client?
I think RC mentioned it when he mentioned a sponsor early on with Happy Dad. We said we would use our Google ads and the money from Happy Dad to pay for production. You know, and then everything else that trickled in would be profits.
They mad about they gotta wait till a minute?
Nah, so there's a lot of misinformation out there on how the data is used, whereas, as I said earlier, it's more so really basic data being used to serve relevant ads. And what I don't think people understand is that you're gonna watch ads regardless. And if you're not watching ads, then that means you're paying for content, which creates a barrier for you all from a discovery perspective, meaning how many people you all are able to reach. If you all weren't making money from ads, then a logical assumption there would be that you all would want to put a paywall up so that you all can supplement that money that you're missing.
Right.
And so the ads empower the content and allow the content to be free on YouTube. And it optimizes the amount of money that you all are making when we are able to use basic data such as search history to inform the ads that are served to the viewers.
Right. I guess in plain English, real quick, for people out there that don't necessarily understand it in that way, it's like when you download an app from the App Store. You got free apps, and you got paid apps. And the free apps, you try and click through forward through those pop-ups, the ads, the commercials, what have you, and that's why it's free, because the ads are in there. And when you have a paid one, it's clean. But when you do watch those ads, it helps your favorite podcast continue to operate and do the things that y'all love.
Exactly, and if the ads are relevant to you, then you may even want to watch them.
I go shopping off our ads all the time.
Yeah.
Hit that link, boom, I'm there.
But see, then would you rather that, or would you rather ads that aren't as relevant to you?
I don't mind targeted ads.
Put animals in there. Animals get people's attention.
Yeah?
Just give me some advice.
Right. No, that's real. And
I swear to God.
they do. So, what have been some learnings along the way in podcasting? Getting to this, pivotal point now where you all are almost at 800,000 subscribers. What's gonna get you all to the million mark?
I feel like we've been at 700 for freaking ever. To be honest, man. Like I think there's so many options now for people for things that they could watch. I think people watch clips. I don't know if people consistently, subscribe. And so, like, I think we're searching for that. I think, our consistency, the level of content we've become known for got us to this point. We got to do something more. Like, we have to do something different. And I don't know if that's more behind the scenes content. I think we do have to get to a point to where Fred's personality is seen more, Channing's personality is seen more, and people are drawn to us. Because you made the mention that a lot of times the guests are the stars. And even when you said it, like, it sent something through me, because I was like, it shouldn't be that. If I'm being 100% honest, like, I do believe that we do a good job in interviewing and in giving our guests the space to have space. But, like, yes, our guests should be whatever star they are, that they've created for themselves. And we definitely want to use that to amplify our show. Like, we're not sitting down with The Rock because nobody knows who Dwayne Johnson is. We want to get an opportunity to tap into his following, also get a chance to tap into his orbit to make them recognize a Fred Taylor, a Ryan Clark, a Channing Crowder. But we have to do a better job to where people don't say what you said. And I'm not attacking what you said, but that's a problem, right? If that's the thought process. Because what does that mean? That means you're looking at our guests and you go, well, I don't really like this person, know this person, or am interested in this person, so why am I tuning in if that's the star of the show? So just in that, we have to do a better job of amplifying these three voices.
And also making people aware that when they hear subscription, that they understand that it's free. It's not a paid subscription. So putting emphasis on, encouraging people to subscribe, follow is an easier term, and set your notifications, but also letting them understand that it's free. It's not a Hulu account where it's a paid subscription or whatever it might be. But we also understand and we realize there are certain percentage of subscribers that don't always tap in. You can kind of gauge how many subscribers are actually watching the show, how often they return to watch the show, how long they're watching the show. So it's a milestone, and naturally all shows are, well, I won't say all. Some people want to get there, and for us, based on, I think, what we view as quality content and what we've been doing and the type of followers that we've engaged, accumulated, then yeah, that's a great goal, a milestone. We don't control it, but our job is to keep the main thing, and that's the content. And then people will tap in that way.
We're gonna pass out flyers at the mall. I just figured it out. We're gonna pass out flyers at the mall.
You taking it back?
Pass out flyers at the mall, that's the answer.
That's the answer, okay. And last question to bring us home. Any advice, general or specific, for content creators, podcasters, hoping to embark on a podcast or evolve as a podcaster?
Stay consistent. Whatever you do, stay consistent.
That's it.
That's it?
You gotta stay consistent. Motherfucker come to me, 40 shows in 16 years, you're never gonna cut it.
What said 40 shows?
It was something like that. Dude said, I've had a podcast since 2001. How many episodes you got? 14. Bitch, it's over for you.
You ain't got a podcast?
Bitch, you got Christmas. You put out a show once a year.
I would say just know why you do it.
That why?
Yeah, to be honest, and self-awareness, like to be truthful, because even in starting this podcast, I didn't think that we were entitled to be received well. I didn't think we were entitled to grow. They had come from a very successful podcast themselves. I had never been in this space, but I was on TV. I didn't think that meant we were going to be the pivot. You know, there was and still is the possibility of us not being successful. You know, like, it's just true. And I think people think you get into this and everybody's gonna like what you say or everybody's gonna care what you say, which is not the truth. You know, just because we play ball or just because you play ball, just because you've been successful at doing something, it doesn't mean that people are gonna listen. And there's also gonna be people who are extremely popular for doing other things that can hop on a podcast, really not have much to say, and it be subscribed to and viewed and listened to because that people have a certain amount of fans, right? And there's so many ways that it can go. And so just understand that as you're getting into it. Like, if you truly are starting a podcast because you believe you have something to say, then keep saying it, right? Yep. But if you're starting a podcast because you believe you have something to say that people should listen to, don't start that mother effer.
For sure. No. That's a good way to land the plane, knowing your why. So thank you all for inviting me on and having me.
Yeah, I think, you know, hopefully this is extremely helpful. I think Zuri did a good job of bouncing around to different topics for beginning podcasters or for existing podcasters, and just also understanding what partnership is. The reason that this was important for us is because we understand how much having a partner like Google can help us, how much cooperating and working with and having sort of these comprehensive conversations continue to further our brand, but also more importantly, continue to build a relationship. Every business in the world is a relationship business. There is no business in the world that is not built off of the people you know and how you treat them. And so I appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully this was helpful, and we'll see you at the Publix parking lot as we pass out our flyers.
Go subscribe, baby.
Free subscriptions.
Hold up, limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up.